He doesn't even know you're there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth Show. My name is James. I'm joined once again by Henry. And today we are reviewing Saw 3, released in 2006. Now, funnily enough though, Henry, the thing about the Millionth Show, right? It's an ironic, sarcastic take on the fact that we're in the most saturated environment possible. But there aren't actually that many Saw podcasts out there, so we're part of quite an exclusive project here. To be fair,
Yeah, and Saw documentation.
yeah, man, we're playing our part. Um, yes, so Saw 3 released in 2006, like I said. Runtime. I watched the unrated version. I don't know if you did. But the unrated version is 1 hour 54 minutes, making it the longest Saw film to date.
I think that was the length of my one as well, so it must have been the same.
Yeah. Directed once again by Darren Bousman. He came back for this one. The other returnees was another returnee was Lee Wannell, sorry, who wrote this film. He was the writer for the first film and also played Adam, of course. So
Yeah,
he came back for this film, not just in a writing capacity.
yeah,
Um,
little cameo in there.
yeah, he certainly did. Budget of $10 million, so significantly more than the last couple,
Yep.
and a box office of $164 million, which is the highest of all the Saw films. So, what do you think of that, Henry?
I mean, like they must have thought they like really struck gold with these first three. I mean, they kind of did essentially. Like for a total of 15 million, they made like what about 300 to 400 million total. Like
Mm.
that's quite. I mean, also given marketing as well, that would have costed. But like that's astronomical. I mean, and it's not no coincidence that's the case either because these are good films, I would say. Like rewatching Saw 3 just made me really appreciate kind of how good the story is, I think. Because it's like so well connected to the point where they immediately continue from like the end of the last film.
Mm.
Like basically the second that film ended. And it's able to tie in the first film as well. And it all basically it kind of brings it full circle in a way that they could they could have theoretically ended it here,
Mm.
but there was still more to go with. I mean, you could really watch Saw 1, 2, and 3 and call it that. But
Mm.
if you're more intrigued, then you can continue,
Mm.
um, which is kind of what makes the series really good. Um, especially like I mean, this is kind of a spoiler, but this film came out like 17 years ago, or 16. The fact that he's not just testing the people, he's also testing Amanda and so on too. He's testing basically future jigsaws and so on, and he also goes on to do that with Hoffman and so on, even though he's not around anymore. But I think this is a really impressive film.
Yeah,
um
the whole series is. This is why they're so successful. This is why we're able to actually make hour-long podcasts analysis of each film, because they're well written. They've got good, genuine plot twists, good acting. And it's coherent, and it's not like they're just churning out sequels for the sake of it. They are very successful, which is why there's so many of them. Um, but they're genuinely good films as well, and I would say the best in its genre as well in terms of what I mean, unless you're counting like Seven and Silence of the Lambs, which are or Alien, which are technically horror films. But if we're talking like exclusive franchise horror films, I think these are definitely the
hmm.
best.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it even goes so far. I would even go so far as to saying this that the thing that Saw is famous for, the traps. I mean,
mm,
they are quite prominent in this, but they also kind of take more of a back seat in the fact that a lot of the story, like I always remembered this one, by some of its more signature traps, but a lot of the story revolves around Jigsaw, Amanda, and this lady from the hospital that he kidnapped, and
mm,
how that all ends up tying in at the end is really good, I think,
yeah.
because like this again follows the whole thing with the previous two Saw films where it's like at first it kind of you can kind of see there are like some loose ends connecting it all together, but then by the end of it, it's like it's been like pulled tight, and then you realize Like it's so, you know, um, kind of I wouldn't say watertight, more like it's well, it just brings it full circle really. And it's kind of like that's where a lot of the plot twists come in. It's like, oh wow, this person was connected with this and so on, or like this was going on the entire time, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, because they do that a lot as the series progresses as well, where they go back and they fill things out, and they don't retcon because they never change the past, but they add to it a lot. They like a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
This film is where they really start doing that. Like they did that in Saw 2 a little bit, but in this one they do it quite a lot to tie in the stories. But again, it never feels like never feels forced. It never feels like, oh, that's bullshit. You know,
Yeah.
it all makes sense and it answers questions which, you know, no one. Well, some people were asking. To be fair, this film was like made for the fans as well. In terms of, you know,
Mm.
I was watching obviously the documentary behind the scenes and everything, and um, it was interesting that this film was basically pre-production for this film began like a week after the opening weekend of Saw 2. So
Yeah, because
um,
they're probably like, yeah,
yeah, they're just like, yeah, this
this
is
film's
great.
still like
We could keep
profitable.
this going. Like, let's make another one. Saw 2, yeah, man. So and that's obviously why I did so well in the box office. I guess our relationship. This is a Saw film I've seen. I think probably more than the others, maybe apart from Saw 5. But this film, I was watching it today, and I knew I was kind of not half watching it, but I was kind of like I just knew like I know this film very well. I know all the traps. I've seen all the traps. All the traps are really good in this film, so I've seen
Mm.
them all multiple times just on their own. Um, and yeah, I mean, how was it for you like revisiting this film? Like what were you paying attention to, etc.
I um I kind of, again, like I had to say I appreciate the traps in this because they're probably the most standout, like, if you could say it's like, you've got like a high starring cast of actors. In this it's in this, like, these are some of the most standout saw traps from the entire franchise really that you think of, including the rack trap. Probably one of the most horrific. But it's it's quite interesting the way that they use them because it's only a single person going through the whole maze essentially, and like these are different people from their past and so on and so forth, and they've got to um, learn to forgive, which they don't. But it's kind of interesting to see how they go about it because it's obviously, previous traps have had, sort of like symbolic meanings behind them, like half of them, drug related, but um in this one it's more like, he basically has to do something to escape, but at the same time he could also do something to um like basically repair, mend the past a bit, in the way that by like forgiving people he's also kind of letting himself live a new life. But he obviously doesn't do that. But it brings a bit more depth to the traps, I guess, if you could say that.
Huh. Yeah, it's an interesting one because yeah, for the first time, and this is something that happens. I mean, I'm not going to spoil future films, like if people are watching this series along with us, but um, yeah, this is the first time we see a film which doesn't like basically all the traps aren't in the victim's control, right? Like they're the guy who all the traps are basically designed for one guy so he can learn a lesson, but he's basically this guy is also deciding the fate of everyone's traps, which is like quite an interesting dimension, and like I say, one we haven't seen yet. So yeah, it definitely takes different form. It was interesting. What's great about these films as well is just the rewatch value. That's something I'm really appreciating as we're
Mm.
doing this series, where I'm watching them now and I'm like really paying attention this time to, you know, the lines that are spoken, which foreshadow things that like, you know, the setups and then the deliveries
Yeah.
at the end. Um, I wasn't the only this film. Obviously, like we said, it's the longest one, and you do feel that at points. What they're trying to do in this film is obviously flesh out the characters and build their stories and stuff,
Yeah.
which I think wasn't really necessary, and I think it's not something they really go on to like bother with in the future. I appreciate that they did it, but having watching this, maybe I've just watched this film too many
Yeah.
times. This particular one because it is a bit longer, but um, there were parts which you just didn't need to see. I'm just like,
Yeah, you
I
have
don't really care.
sometimes.
Just move on, you know.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Sometimes there's like one too many flashbacks of stuff that you kind of know
Yeah.
already. Like,
That's all there for you, innit? Flashbacks
yeah,
within
true. It
flashbacks.
loves its flashbacks, but some are more necessary than others. You know, like not all flashbacks are created equal in a sense. Um,
Yeah, man. Well, let's get into it then. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You know, there's
Okay.
plenty to get into.
Yeah. So we pick up where Saw 2 left off. So we're with Detective Eric
Yeah,
Matthews.
directly after
Yeah,
after the
literally.
door's already shut. You know.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if when I'll watch these films again, but what I might end up doing is watch 2 and 3, like just literally. You could actually, what you could really do is make like a 3.5 hour film where you just don't cut it. And how would that'd be quite interesting, actually, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
You could do that. You could easily have Sword 2 and 3 be a 3.5 hour film, like an extended horror film, and then couldn't you? But
Maybe.
anyway, so Eric Matthews, he wakes up in the bathroom. Although he was not really waking up, he never fell asleep, did he? But I really, I've got to shout out again the lighting. Like,
Yeah, it's
'cause he's got
completely
the
pitch
torch
black.
there
I remember.
shining and it's just him in his face and the gun in
Yeah.
front of him. And it's like very cool still there that you
Yeah,
have.
like a bit claustrophobic almost. It's not like he's in a really small room, but like you feel like he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you feel the kind of you feel trapped like you're right there with him, you could say. Um and like yeah, he's like just got that he's got that torch and he's got the pistol in front of him that you just can't quite
Mhm.
reach.
Yep. And once again, it's just what I love. What I love about these films is they pay homage to previous films and previous traps, and they just remix it a little bit. So in this case, Matthews is chained up, obviously by his ankle to the to in the bathroom, and he find yeah he's it's like he finds this he finds the saw, and do you know what, like, because he's looking around, he sees, like, with the torch, the Gordon's foot, and all that shit, and he's like, oh fuck. Um, it's like and he goes, he can't saw his own foot. He like thinks about, he's like, yeah, okay, and then obviously he
Yeah.
just can't do it. And what was gross, man, is like he takes off his sock and puts it in his mouth. Like, did you notice that? Can you imagine
Yeah, I
how
was like,
manky that must have tasted, man? That's been fucking grim. That's the worst trap of them all, man.
yeah,
His own fucking
exactly.
sweaty sock in his mouth.
Yeah,
Ah.
I never understood because like upon seeing this again, I kind of forgot the fact that he didn't saw his foot off. I was immediately thinking
Oh
like,
yeah.
mate, you're not gonna saw your foot off. Like, there's clearly like one of the most terrible ideas ever. I mean, there's probably more ways to go about it. And then I remembered, oh yeah, he breaks his foot and then gets out like
Yeah.
that, which is fair play to him. It's not like optimal, but it is definitely a clever way to get out.
Yeah, definitely it is. Yeah.
He's not going to be
Although
doing any running
it's
anymore.
disgusting.
Yeah.
This film is probably, there are a couple of moments in this film that are just the best for really making me feel uncomfortable. And as you know, Henry, that's quite hard to achieve. But for me
Yeah.
to like squirm and look at, not be able to really look at, it's like that takes a lot. Like for me to really like, fucking wince. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could tell the direction they're going just by looking at this poster here.
Yeah, yeah. This poster is like uncomfortable to look at as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I've
and
seen.
to be fair, come think of it, I don't remember in Saw they do anything like surgery, dental related. You know.
Ah, well, you're wrong.
Okay, good.
You'll see.
Well, I've got that to
But
look forward to.
although I saw in this, I'll get to. I'll mention it a little bit later on. But anyway, with this film, because like I said, in what's even more surprising is the fact I've seen this film multiple times. So for me to still like have that same reaction of like disgust at a trap I've already seen a few times, that's really impressive for me.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
And this is
something you
one of them,
can't
because
get
the
with
way
jump scares.
what I think really sells this particular moment is the sound design as he breaks his foot,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And then he's like, you have it, so he has to smash it multiple times. That's okay. Then he snaps it, and you're like, oh. And then he
yeah,
fucking slides it through
yeah.
the
Although when he's
bracelet.
sliding out, it sounds like he's like
Oh, it's
squishing some
disgusting.
jam. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to see how they actually created that sound, because it's fucking
they did
disgusting.
it for real.
And they do a little bit of slow mo there, as I was just like, oh, it's fucking horrific, man.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah, it's
uh,
yeah, it like makes you question
Bruce.
whether or not sawing your foot off would be a better idea.
Yeah, it actually does. I mean, yeah, you've still got your foot, but it's like, oh, Oh, it's
Yeah, it's
horrible.
like you're definitely not doing cross country after that.
Anyway, yeah. We join Detectives Rigg, Kerry, and for the first time, Hoffman. And they're at the classroom trap.
Yeah.
So obviously, Rigg and Kerry are recurring characters. Hoffman we're meeting for the first time.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sure he won't be important.
yeah, just little cameo there, nothing too significant. And yeah, we're at the classroom trap now. This is a pretty fucked up trap, I must say.
This is the chain one where he's chained up, right?
It's chained up here by I counted 11 different chains.
Yeah, well, it's like some of them are not so bad. Like, oh, okay, to be fair, your
Right,
shoulder,
right.
like the one that's literally in his mouth, like his hands, his heels, like
Oh, I think
your
those are the worst ones. I mean, the shoulders, yeah, and the ones on his waist, no problem, man.
well,
I'll
well,
get
not
out there
just
and
no
brick.
problem. You're gonna lose a lot of blood, but still.
Nah, not really. The ones on your shoulder, no
Yeah,
problem. The
this is
waist, no problem. I think the hand would be fucking painful. I reckon I could do that. The worst ones, I think, are
the
the
feet.
ones on his Achilles tendon.
Yeah, because then you
That's
can stamp.
really fucked up. And obviously the one in his jaw, which literally he can't escape from.
You can't do that. I mean, because this is a good thing as well. Because some of these first traps are like I was like writing in my notes like angry, like this is bullshit. They can't escape from it, but they do explain that later.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
but
It's
like
interesting.
the thing is that like like you get pissed off with this trap just looking at it because it's like I originally thought the way I remembered it was it's kind of like the you got so many chains on you have to like kind of trade off what you're gonna keep, but no, he has to break every single
Yeah.
one of them, and I'm like, you know, oh
I think yeah, the one in his jaw. I mean, obviously his the only. I mean, you couldn't even do it. I don't think if you wanted to, but you'd have to rip your entire jaw out.
yeah,
Um,
but yeah,
although I
good
noticed
luck.
when Hoffman's looking through the debris, there's one of the rings because all the rings are closed rings, right? That are like ripped out of him. But Hoffman actually picks up one which is like a C. It's not closed. So uh, maybe that was the one in his mouth. But even then, I don't really know how you would get that out. But it's
Yeah,
sabotaged, and yeah, and obviously that is
yeah, we
brought up
find
later
out
on in
the
the film.
door's locked anyway, so
And that, yeah, strange stuff. I'm trying to
yeah,
remember why the guy
maybe.
was in there. Oh yeah, because this guy's crime. Because I think it's important as well as to remember the trap why they're there. Because that can often be
Yeah,
like
he bunked school. That's why he's in the classroom.
debatable. No, this guy is there because he's been in and out of prison a lot, and
The fuck? I don't
Jigsaw,
know.
he's like, oh, you're more comfortable in chains than you are in freedom, So
Yeah,
there
it's
you
like
go.
it's not my fault the police keep planting evidence on me, but
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, man.
Jigsaw.
So yeah, this guy obviously he bites it. He can't escape. He's got no choice. The
Yeah,
bomb
the
goes off,
nail
nail
bomb
bomb.
goes off.
Pretty fucked up to be fair. Um, they find the tape. They retrieve the tape from this crime scene. So Kerry takes it home. She's watching it at home, and then
Yeah.
she's as she. Before I move on, do you have any further comments on the classroom trap?
No, but the thing that you're talking about right now
Oh,
fucking
hey,
makes you.
wait. Actually, before we do, I do
Oh,
hold that thought.
go on.
I remember what I wanted to say earlier. There was obviously they go through different concepts and ideas when they're designing these traps and the film in general. But one of the ideas for this trap was that he would have, is what you mentioned about the dental thing before, that he would
Ah.
have hooks in some of his teeth and he'd have to rip out, and that'd be
Oh, that would
fucking
make it
horrible.
worse, man.
But yeah, they'd be like very obviously like pretty much fish hooks, but still like imagine that. That's
Yeah,
fucked up.
I just this is the thing. If it was me, like, it's one of those quick death ones where I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna blow myself up, you know?
Man, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so Kerry's watching herself on an. Sorry, Kerry's watching the tape back, and then
Yeah.
she
And she
sees
starts
herself.
watching.
It's
This makes you
from her own.
yeah, makes you shit bricks, man.
I was gonna say it's good in it. Like what the
Because
fuck?
like yeah, because it's got like the whole jigsaw puppet and so on and so forth, and this shitty VHS tape or whatever he's
Yep.
using. Um, Jigsaw hasn't upgraded DVDs by now, but
Yeah.
like it's just like you got like this grainy screen and so on and so forth, like classic horror style,
Yep.
and then like it changes and you just see like her sitting at her desk and she's like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
man. I wonder I mean, obviously you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but they do try and do things practically in this film, in these films, which I appreciate. But I do wonder like how that VHS tape like changed like that, you know, like.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, I had
But
thought about
anyway,
that briefly,
we'll
but
let them off. Because the effect is like, oh shit, you know.
yeah, it's like
She picks up a
Jigsaw's literally
gun.
like pulls a fucking that's very cool, but then releases your like IP address in the photo of your house.
Yeah, man, exactly. And anyway, she gets kidnapped and wakes up in the Angel Trap. Now,
It's
what do you
hardly
think of
flattering name.
this one?
Oh man, this is one of those grim traps again, which then you realize you can't get out of, which again pissed me off. I was like, there's no way you could get out of this, but then it gets explained. Like the thing that I did find kind of dumb, I was like, for those who haven't seen it, it's just like got all these like nail like kind of it's like a whole suit that's rigged into like her rib cage essentially that's gonna rip her open.
Hmm.
And she's got like a key in like a mason jar of like sulfuric acid or whatever, and she's got to get the key at the bottom, which will obviously burn her hand off. But what I didn't get is like Kerry can like visibly like grab it with both hands, right? So I don't know why she wouldn't tip like loads of the
Yeah,
acid out
yeah.
and then because it's not like near her, like it wouldn't burn her. Just pull most out and just take the key out. It might burn your fingers, but at least you'll keep your whole forearm maybe. I don't
This
know.
is the thing. I think this trap is obviously more. It's a weird thing to say about a sword trap, but fashion over function, because like, you like there are some questionable things. Yeah, the jar seems quite easy to tip.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it
and
literally is a
even if
beaker,
she
like it
unlocks it
has
and
a thing
say
to
the
tip.
trap wasn't rigged, I think that's just a cop out for them in a way because how would she escape that anyway? Because it's like hooked into a rib cage, right? So how would she even unhook herself? Like, what's the way
Yeah,
out of
that's
that?
the
There
thing.
isn't.
She was literally
Right.
like she unlocked it with the key, and then it's just like, oh, what the
Yeah.
fuck do I
Now
do
what?
now?
Yeah. Exactly. It's
And
like
it's just
fucked up.
like they just literally put a padlock on it, just say, yeah, you can unlock the padlock with this key. Doesn't
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
anything,
It's
but
like.
you get your honorary place on the jigsaw leaderboard.
And I feel bad because I don't feel bad, but it's just film. But still, I'm like, that's not really fair. Like, you don't really get to see many people escape sword traps, and she actually does. She puts her hand in the fucking acid, unlocks it, fair play. But then, yeah, it's just like she dies anyway, and that's where you're like, oh, because at this until this point, you're like, yeah, it's Jigsaw man. But then, of course, it is like explained later on. But
Yeah, well, yeah,
still,
we find
I
out.
just yeah, whatever. We're obviously, of course, worth reminding, we're going to rank all these traps at the end. So,
Yeah, you get a nice slow mo shot of them getting ripped open.
yeah, man. And just before she dies, she sees a mysterious
Someone in a mysterious cloak.
figure, yeah, silhouette approaching her. Um,
You reckon it's Zep?
we'll
Even though
find
he's
out.
dead.
Then we cut to Lynn, who's a nurse, quite fit as well. I might add.
Thanks,
Um,
thanks for that input. Millionth ranking.
and
Who's the fittest character in Saw?
yeah, I think she's or John Kramer's wife is quite fit as well, man.
I thought you were going to say John Kramer for a minute.
No, his wife, Jill Tuck. She's. It's between her and Lynn, I would say. But anyway, we're not
Right,
ranking
yeah, further updates on
ladies
that in
of
the later
Saw.
episodes.
um. Anyway, Lynn, she's like, she's just had a. Well, anyway, she's just
Well, yeah, she's
She's
just
with
been
her
told by
she's
her
at her apartment
boyfriend.
with her husband, right? And
Oh yeah, her
they're
husband.
like having a bit of domestics, and he's like, oh, and
Oh,
she's like, what do you
divorce.
want from me? And he's like, a divorce. And what a great way to send your nurse wife to work,
Yeah,
with that
exactly.
thought in the
Like,
back of her
come
head.
on, man.
But whatever. She goes to work. She demonstrates quickly that she's like this ace top nurse. She saves a kid's life through improvising or whatever. Um, and she's like, oh, da, 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 like clearly not got a mind on the work. Doesn't matter. She basically, long story short, she's in the locker room. She gets kidnapped. Um, and she wakes up in Jigsaw's basement with Amanda. So we get a little backstory in there. I just like upon like the like whatever viewing this is of my fourth, fifth time of viewing, I don't really care for this. This is something where I'm like, I can cut this out. But I guess first time viewers do need to see it.
Yeah, is it the Amanda flashback by this point?
Um, no, not yet. So she wakes up. Lynn wakes up in a wheelchair.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
in,
like
in,
tied
in
up and
Jigsaw's
shit.
warehouse, yeah, with Amanda. She looks around, seeing all the traps. Amanda's there, and she goes and she's wheeled over to meet John Kramer. So
Yeah,
we see him. He's
I
like
had
really on. He's on death. He's got one foot in the grave now. You know,
yeah, yeah,
from his
like
bad in Saw 2. Now he's on his deathbed.
yeah,
You
like
know.
I literally wrote down like John Kramer's like literally in full like frail old man mode right now.
Yeah. Now he's really he's ready to kick the bucket. But this
Well,
is where the
quite,
nurse comes
not
in.
quite.
Her job is explained to her. Her task, her test is to keep John Kramer alive until the end of this film. Um,
She's got like a bomb collar around her
yeah,
neck.
very much like the Riddlers in the
Yeah,
Batman, of course.
come to think of it.
Um,
Yeah, it's like, it's tied to his heartbeat and so on and so forth. So if he flatlines, she's fucked.
yeah,
And
all die
probably a lot of his work
spontaneously.
as well is going to go off with that. But anyway,
Yeah, a little more original than the old. There's a slow coursing nerve agent coursing through your
yeah, yeah,
veins. We didn't get that anymore, unfortunately.
he's like run out of nerve agent or something. It's too expensive, so he just hooked
Yeah.
up some explosives to a mask. All right, yeah, come on.
Although it was actually Amanda who made this one.
Yeah,
But
oh yeah,
anyway,
yeah, you're
yeah.
right. I mean, yeah, because Chrome was probably on the fucking dialysis machine by this point.
Yeah, man. So she's got this neck brace bomb around her neck, like I said. And then we cut over to the subject of this film, who is a chap called Jeff. He wakes up in a crate.
Yeah,
Plays his tape. We see a little bit of his backstory. Why he's there? His son got killed
yeah,
by a drunk
yeah,
driver.
because
He's still holding grudges. He's like doing a Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. He's
yeah,
like,
he literally is
you
having a
know,
taxi drive moment. He's like,
yeah.
it
Um,
fantasizing of the guy killing the person.
right, right. We
John
have,
Kramer supposedly had got the camera footage that we're seeing.
yep. We've got, a little moment with his daughter as well because
Yeah,
she's
I
one of
felt
his
bad for
son's
him, man,
toys.
because like
Yeah, yeah,
his wife's taken off or died or something, I don't know. But then it's just like this guy, like, yeah, right, fair enough, you lost your son, but your other kid is literally like, like still there,
yeah,
right?
man. Exactly. The daughter's like really sweet and innocent there, and then she's like, oh, he's like, but he's a pisshead as well, of course, and
Yeah,
he,
true.
he's struggling to overcome, the death of his son. So, you know, John
Yeah.
Kramer's here to help,
Yeah,
help him
the
move on.
John Kramer helpline. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, one thing I did find quite good with this is the way. I mean, obviously they love their flashbacks, but the box he's in is on top of a forklift. Don't know how John Kramer got someone to reverse that into this warehouse, whatever. But anyway, like he pushes the crate with himself in it off, and then like during the period where he's knocked out is the time you get the flashback, and then by the
Yeah.
time that I don't know, brief couple minutes is over, he's like woken up and he goes on his way, which is quite a good way to like, well,
Yeah.
narratively and visually break up the film a bit, which I think that this film does quite well. I think, rather than just he's like walking down the corridor, he sees a
Yeah.
face
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
wall,
Yeah.
then he remembers something.
Yeah. You're right. It's quite a smooth way to do it. Um. Anyway, so then we go back to Amanda and Lynn. They're having a little bit of handbags, like, Lynn's saying he needs to go to the hospital, and Amanda's like, I brought him to you, blah, blah, blah. Amanda drops a C bomb, calls her a
Yeah,
cunt,
yeah, he
which
calls
you
her a
don't really
stupid
hear.
cunt.
I don't know if you know this, Henry, but Americans like they really like
Yeah, I know, I know.
no one said like in England, man. Like I call you, we call each other cunt all the time. Like it's just like, oh, how you doing, you fucking cunt, whatever. It's like a pretty normal thing to say. Um, Whereas in America, it's like a
Yeah,
big
it's
no
like the
no. You
worst
never say
word
that.
ever.
And this is like one of maybe 2 or 3 times I've ever heard that word in a film, in an American film. Don't know about you, but very very rare you hear that.
It
So.
was very noticeable. I mean, I thought it was going
Yeah,
to be
Amanda makes a
like,
point
oh,
of
you
saying it as well. Yeah,
thought it was going to be generic, like insults. Oh, you stupid bitch. But it's like, you stupid,
yeah.
shut the fuck up, you stupid cunt.
Oh,
Like a Charles Bronson moment.
yeah, man.
Um, but
Uh,
yeah,
John
it's
Kramer goes into a seizure, displaying how close he is to death's door.
yeah, he's like sick of
Um,
this shit.
yeah, man. Yeah, he goes into a seizure over that. Which
Yeah,
obviously
over
Lynn,
that conversation.
handles well. Um, then
I've
we
got to say
come to
that's proper tense during that like
The first of Jeff's. What do we call them? Jeff's
tests.
tests. That's right. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
they are.
because he is a
Which
test
is
subject.
the freezer room trap. Now, your thoughts on this one, Henry?
Well, first thing that Jeff sees is a pair of bazonkers, and then he realizes, oh, this person's in mortal danger. Um, and one thing I had to kind of find somewhat amusing about this is like normally Jigsaw has like a clever place to put the tape recorder or something, and this is just put it in like the bottom corner of the room in hopes that it doesn't blend in with the blue gray background. It's like if it took the guy a while to figure out where it was. Um, but I didn't kind of. This is kind of a novel trap, but I didn't really kind of like this. This is the because the reason why he's there is because this woman,
She was a
who's
witness to.
yeah, she's a witness, but she
Yeah,
drove off.
yeah.
Which a bit of a scummy thing to do, and you've literally witnessed like a guy's kid getting killed.
Mhm.
But what I didn't kind of get is the fact that the way the trap operates is that she's in a freezing cold room, and it sprays obviously cold water on him, which is
Mhm.
pretty fucked up.
Mhm.
But by the end of it, she's like frozen over like a centimeter thick layer of ice, and like what the fuck? Like last time we saw her, like it was completely like relatively normal, but I don't know how that
Well,
works.
we see it developing because there is a bit where she's been encased in ice, and then he like pokes his finger through, and then she's still alive. So it's like, oh fuck. Um, what always pisses me off about this trap is like how much of a pussy Jeff is.
Yeah,
Like all he's got to do. It's so easy to beat. All he's got to do, right? Worst case scenario is get a little like cut on his cheek, which he does eventually get,
yeah,
right?
or
Even that
his
can be
cheek is
prevented by just
slightly.
putting his shirt up, and
Yeah,
then
put the shirt up.
so easy.
And the thing
And
is, like
yeah,
one of the problems I have with these traps, which is maybe what Jigsaw's testing, 90 he could have saved like basically everyone by not taking fucking forever to like, because he
yeah,
doesn't always come around to doing something, but it's always too late. He's like sitting there, he's thinking, he's like a fucking zombie. He's like
yeah,
remembering,
yeah. Well,
oh,
that's the
who's
thing,
this
because
person again?
I don't
Like,
think the actor for Jeff is really the best because you don't really, like you say, he doesn't come across as someone who's like in a real emotional conflict. It doesn't really convey that. And I know they probably couldn't afford a Ryan Gosling, whose birthday is today. I might add,
oh
he's
yeah,
literally me, but had to had to acknowledge that. But he doesn't sell it to me where he's
yeah,
just it's like he's just there like looking what's going on. You can see he's angry, but he can only really do one or two emotions. Like I don't really see like a kind of conflict, an inner conflict in him where he's like battling it out. He's stood there and he's like, yeah, I'm glad that because
yeah. I'm
ultimately
glad you're
what's happening
dying.
here? His son died 3 years ago, and these are all like basically his fantasies coming to life where he gets because we see him in the mirror earlier, right? So it's like, oh, this is where he gets to like have his revenge on everyone, right?
Yeah, but like we need to bring back Donnie Wahlberg, man. Like it's portray this shit, even though he's
Yeah,
already in it.
even Donnie Wahlberg, like I feel like he would. Yeah, but it is what it is. This guy is like a real pussy though, man. As well. I mean, yeah, obviously a lot of these traps like hit him. Like the whole point is to be able to teach this guy to forgive. But you know, it's fucked up. Like and obviously, yeah, with this one, he just takes too long dilly dallying over it, and she dies. So
Yeah, gets
yeah,
turned
there
into
you
like a
go.
fucking ice statue.
Pretty,
This,
pretty,
I don't know.
yeah, pretty. It's a very original trap, I must say as well. It's like very creative. Got to say, this ice shower that's going on here.
I hope she
Um,
learned her lesson.
yeah. We cut back to Jigsaw's basement where Lynn's snooping around, looking at all the instruments of death.
All the
Um,
MacGuffins,
and
got
yeah,
the
she's caught by Amanda, who's like, yeah, look at that axe, look at that reverse bear trap. Not wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the
because
audience.
it activates on its own. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
like I don't know what it was. Amanda pulls like a fucking. I think it might have been at this point. She pulls like almost like a Joker thing where she's like shushing over the knife like up to her
oh
lips.
yeah, that's right.
Um,
She
uh,
uh, she also she has a quite an interesting line where she goes because Lynn's going on about I don't have the right tools to save her life, and then And then Amanda's like, you'd be surprised what instruments can save a life, looking at or picks up the bear trap, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
yeah, Amanda gets like a little bit of well, not really so much stigma, but more like yeah, I didn't give a shit moment where like she gives Lynn like the axe,
yeah,
right? And then it's like, oh yeah, and then turns around, it's like, oh well, you could probably chop my head off here, or hit for the neck, or maybe the head. I don't know. I'm not the surgeon here,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you could probably disconnect yourself from the heart monitor and walk on out here. And then like Lynn's just like kind of like too like shocked to kind of think, and then she turns around, takes the axe back, and then continues on with her day.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that was pretty like ballsy moment
It's
from
like a
Amanda.
power
Yeah,
move, kind of.
that was pretty good. We do get a flashback here of John Kramer, basically like his well Amanda's apprenticeship days. First few days with him. He's painting his puppet, of course,
Yeah.
um, and he's setting up her trap. So it's actually before her apprenticeship days, but he's setting up her reverse bear trap, and that we saw in the first film.
It's like, I hope this one becomes my new intern.
Yeah. Your thoughts on John Kramer's beard, Henry?
Yeah, he has like an interesting style here. I mean,
He's got a
complete.
Brazilian on his
Yeah, it's
chin.
got completely shaved. He's just got a very tiny like slither of beard there.
Yeah,
Like if he had if it was like any longer, he'd be like teaching you some martial arts or some shit.
yeah,
But no, he's setting up death devices.
yeah. But yeah,
Interesting
he's
choice.
literally just giving himself a Brazilian on his chin, man. um.
Yeah, it would have been
Anyway,
really weird with just a bare chin, but oh well.
anyway, we cut back to Jeff. He's coming up to his second test. Along the way, he picks up that he encounters Jigsaw's puppet, who laughs. Picks him up, laughs at him, throws him back on the floor.
Yeah, because he's like on the floor with like a bicycle or his tricycle, whatever, next to him, like
Yeah,
just like his son was when he died.
yeah, pretty fucked up from Kramer there. But anyway,
Yeah, he's
and
it's sort
well,
of like
anyway,
harken back to recording recording a voicemail on his son's phone.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it
does
is
a
a
bit
little
of
bit.
tormenting.
Um, and he enters the room where the pig vat trap
Oh, that
is.
sounds fucking disgusting, man.
Yeah.
It's not particularly hard to get someone out of, but it's just yeah. I mean, you can go on to describe exactly what this entails for those who haven't seen it.
Well, I think we can assume. I'm not going to go into like waste time like describing the traps, and it's fair to assume people know which one we're talking
Yeah,
about.
fair enough.
But
But the victim of this being the
yeah, the
judge,
judge who only gave the killer of his son, what was it, 6 months
6 months.
in jail? Yeah. Um, which I think of all the one, Jeff is probably quite justified, and I would have gone, yeah, like fuck that judge, man. Like I'd have seen him drowning the pig guts, maybe. And this is actually Tobin Bell, obviously the actor who plays John Kramer. This is his favorite trap of all of
His
them.
favorite one.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is his personal favorite. Apparently,
As in like the worst one that you wouldn't want to be in, or
just that's the quote. This is his favorite one.
all right. Yeah, I need
Um,
to get in contact with Tobin Bell for this.
yeah, can you clarify your comments there, please?
Hmm.
Um, Confusing. Yeah, this is like very like yeah. I mean, for me, this is one of those traps. I mean, like I said, we'll rank them later on. But for me, this is probably a trap where I mean, obviously, the whole point here is that you're relying on this fucking bozo Jeff to like get you out of here. But
Yeah, this guy's like lucid for like conscious for
other than
like
that, I
half
think
the
this is the
time.
kind of trap I could handle quite well. I think yeah, obviously the drowning aspect's bad, but other than that, yeah, it'd be like it would stink of shit.
Or
But
being the victim, or like being
yeah, well, either way, I mean, being the guy, like whatever, but being the victim in this one, I think I'll be right with it because it's just the drowning aspect. I think there's no pain involved, is there, with this one? It's just like
yeah, but
stench.
you're as in like you'd be okay to die in this, or
No, I don't want to die in that, but like of all of these traps, this is the one where it's like I'd far sooner be in this position than in like the freezer room, for example.
Yeah, but this is literally dependent on whether or not the person's actually going to get you out of there. The thing
Yeah,
is, actually, also like a comment on the freezer room. Even if he had gotten her out of there, she'd have probably died anyway.
true. Yeah, hypothermia. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
like never
yeah,
mind.
that's a good
Anyway,
point. Didn't think of that. Yeah. Anyway, so this judge is we get the pigs obviously coming out on the not a conveyor belt, but a suspended one, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
With fucking maggots in their eyes and shit.
that's
Um,
disgusting, man. And then like, yeah, all he has to do is, I mean, this sounds simple,
yeah,
but like,
this is one where it's really fucking easy, man. You just got
yeah,
to
so
burn
all he
his
has to do is
stuff
just push a
forward.
button, it just burns basically like a little mini furnace of all the fucking memorabilia of his son that he keeps, fucking fawning over, whatever,
Yeah,
crying over. Can't believe it. One of them's got a key in it, so it's just to burn it up and then use that key to save the guy. Like
right.
it's not, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh man, this pig plushie, my son played with that like once. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like
Uh,
a bunch of photos there. I'm like, you probably got like more photos of your kid. I'm like, come on, man.
yeah, that's right. I think this is a bit of like, I mean, obviously, obviously, praise God, I'm never in Jeff's situation, but still, I'm like, I think this is one where John Cream is a little bit justified in testing him. And I think, yeah, this is a part you could do moving on, especially how you see in the flashback how it affects the daughter. So,
Yeah, exactly. And
um,
oh man, it gets worse as well because like not only you've got the pigs going being shredded up and like dumped on this guy. Then, like at some point he takes so fucking long. You get the express line, man. You got like just
yeah,
pigs after pigs after pigs, man. Like going there. I really wonder where John Kramer got all these as well. Like, did he like camp outside of a butcher for like a month collecting all the ones they throw?
yeah. I
Like,
think the judge should count himself lucky as well because this is one where Jeff took fucking ages as well. I think he just got lucky in the fact that this trap, like, he had a bit of time to play with. Like, this felt like quite long compared to the other
yeah,
ones.
exactly. Most of them are
There's
like,
no time or anything. It's just like, oh, okay,
yeah, most of them was like this is like a 10-sided Rubik's cube. You have 10 seconds or you die. It's like what the fuck?
yeah, and they're able to have. First of all, they're able to have a chat. Like going back and forth. And then Jeff goes, yeah, okay, I'm going to see this guy die. And then he goes, looks around, and then he goes, press the button, waits for the shit to burn, gets the key, climbs down, unlocks him. It's a long trap, this one.
Yeah.
Um, but whatever. I guess this is like quite an iconic one for the Saw universe. Even it's not personally it's not like a trap I've like remember that much. I
Not
don't
your
go like,
cup
oh
of tea,
yeah,
so to say.
the pig vat trap doesn't really do it for me, but
But it
that's
is
me.
horrific. Like that is a horrific trap.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, it's just so disgusting.
I really would get. I think of all the traps that we've seen so far in these films, this is one where I probably the one like this would be really right down the bottom of like I should say the top of
Worst
the
ones
list in
to
terms of
die on
ones that
this
I
is
would
so.
put if I had to like if Jigsaw went to me, okay, you have to sit through one of these traps, yeah, you will get out, but
No,
I
no, no, no. This
happily
is
take
this
this
is the
one.
problem. The most dangerous part of the trap is not the pigs. It's how fucking useless Jeff is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but there's
it's the
there's no
entire
like if like
and Jigsaw
I'm
knows
just
that.
saying like you're gonna get out of it like there's no real pain. There's no pain involved in this at all, right?
Yeah, but
So
guaranteeing getting out of it is different from, being the victim and you don't know if you're gonna get out. That's like what half of these films are.
even if you're gonna choose to die in one of these traps, apart from the ones that are an instant death, I still think this one's okay. Like you just
And
drown.
like drowning on its own is bad enough, but like drowning in, pig carcass, that's like probably one of the worst things you could possibly imagine of.
Oh well, we're gonna rank these actually later on, so I'm actually quite interested to see how this goes. Little comment on this scene, like they have like a rock music going on when the trap
Yeah,
starts.
it's
That's a bit
got that's
strange,
something I noticed in
bit
this
out of place.
throughout it and during the freezer one as well. The
Yeah.
soundtrack of this is just going hard, man. Like your head banging to it. You're not really sure whether or not you should be like pumped for this scene or not.
Yeah, man. Now then we get to well, I've written down here the brain surgery scene.
Yeah, the surgery scene again. Another bit where like the music starts going hard again.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. This is apparently proper like legit medically legit.
How it works, yeah.
Yeah, 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 and this is why the whole scene was like uncut even in the theatrical version because this is like they argued this is no different than what you'd see in a
Yeah.
medical documentary. So okay. It's quite interesting actually. I wasn't really grossed out by this that much. I was kind of like
Cool.
more fascinated by the way it happens. Like maybe that's just my sick,
Yeah,
twisted brain.
that definitely is a you problem.
But I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Um,
Yeah, did you know actually? Because they've run out of budget, they actually did this on Tobin Bell for real.
yeah.
Like, uh,
Um,
but yeah, it's
it's
pretty
very
fucking
cleverly
nuts.
filmed as well, I have to say.
Yeah, like
One
John
thing with
Kramer, they
Saw
have like
2, Saw 2 was there's a podcast I saw, not a podcast I watched, but I saw in the trivia for this for Saw 2 actually. Um, there's a podcast with a bunch of doctors or medical students, whatever, and they rate films like horror films and they give them a score because for those people who've seen Human Centipede, which I have, um, very fucked up trilogy, by the way, I must say. Especially Human Centipede 2. That is like a film I actually don't want to watch again. It's like fucking disgusting, man. But anyway, Human Centipede was. They claimed that that film was 100% medically accurate, which it wasn't. But the medical students on this podcast, they use that as okay. If that is 100% medically accurate, then Saw 2 is 500% medically accurate, and Saw 3. So basically, it's like you understand the joke they're
yeah
making. That's like
the
it's quite
bar
good.
line.
But anyway, yeah, apparently this is all medically legit. This brain surgery scene. That
Yeah,
is a
they
legit
definitely
way of
use
how
like
you could relieve pressure on the tumor.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'd be using it's all right when she's using a power drill and so on. I mean, to be fair, that's like very. I really wonder how she manages to stop it, like just
Yeah, that's
that
the
time.
thing for me. Yeah, like yeah,
And also like with the saw as well. Like you're looking at it, that's just got like rust and all this built up stuff on it. And the thing that I found like most questionable of all, yeah, she gave Jigsaw, anesthetic or whatever. This guy's been a cancer patient forever, so he doesn't really give a shit about pain. But in order to disinfect the thing, she just pours like hella alcohol directly onto his brain, man.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
gonna cause like several issues, surely. Like
Thing is, he's on local anesthetic. I mean,
I know
that's
it's not just the
pretty
local
big, like
anesthetic, but like the
big
damage that
cop
would
out.
do.
But yeah, I really like this scene. I'm just like I don't know. There's something quite satisfying about it. It's like the four holes drilled in and then like a square cut out. Do you? That's
Yeah,
just
yeah. To be fair, man, it
well
feels
done.
like if she'd fucked it up a bit, then it'd been like even more annoying. But um, yeah, it's just a bit grim, gotta say. Like, but
Yeah, very
ultimately,
very like interesting scene. But again, it's just one of those that just is unique to this kind of franchise. It's like, whoa, shit.
yeah, it's
Um,
literally just the advanced form of what cavemen would do when they had migraines.
huh. While John Kramer's dancing between life and death, he has a flashback of his ex-wife Jill Tuck. Who we don't see in much, just literally confined to a cameo flashback in this film. But
Yeah, he's having
we
a
may
good
or may
time.
not see more of her. Don't want to spoil future films, but anyway, so he's like seeing his life flash before his eyes. Um, anyway, and obviously like all the climax of it is that he obviously survives the initial like
Yeah, he
say
says, "I love you."
yeah he's I love you and then like holds the nurse's arm and
Yeah, and
Amanda
Amanda's
sees
there
this and
from
gets
across the
jealous
corner,
and you're like
like,
really like
yeah. I was like, it seems at some point that he's literally like deliberately trying to piss Amanda off. Like,
yeah for sure. Well, he is testing her. That's part of the film, right?
I
But
know, but still, with
I
the
think
whole "I
that's
love you"
like
thing was unintentional.
yeah yeah. Well, I don't know. This film is like these franchises so like character based and like they really put and for this to kind of hinge on like Amanda getting jealous like that, I wasn't really sold on that.
Yeah, I would never imagine Amanda has kind of the hots for Jigsaw.
Yeah, it's just like a bit strange. Whether
It's
yeah,
like
it's
when they
like
have a terminal illness, like,
we'll see. Yeah, or like see even if she sees him as a father figure, either way, it's just a little bit like ah, come on.
bit weird. I mean, he is,
Yeah.
several decades older than you, but.
Yeah. Anyway, we have another flashback as well because oh sorry this is where we get a flashback where we see basically John Kramer, him and Amanda are like setting up the bathroom trap, right? So we see Amanda kidnap Adam, um, So like obviously in the first film with the photographer with the flash camera thing, the Polaroid camera, he's
Yeah,
like,
it's
you know, he
from
gets
Adam's
kidnapped. Then
perspective.
they retcon that to basically reveal that to be Amanda,
Yeah.
basically making her first kidnapping,
Yeah, she
presumably.
barely managed it as well. Like
Yep,
she's like
yep, yep.
fucking panting after that man.
Yeah, that was interesting. Um,
Yeah, because Adam takes like 50 pictures. Like he's not even fighting it. It's just like, oh, let's see how many good photos I can get of this pig mask. You know, it's
um,
like I'm gonna blind it to death. That'll work.
yeah, we get all that shit. You know, we see John Kramer. He's like injecting himself with a muscle relaxant.
Yeah, explains
Amanda
how
as well,
the
like fucking up the key thing on Adam.
yeah, it's like
Um,
it explains how he managed to stay still for those 8 hours. You know.
yeah, that's right. We also see Amanda hasn't learned her lessons because she's actually self-harming instead of her wrists on her thighs, which is fucked up.
Yeah,
Uh,
that made me feel peak. I'm not gonna lie, that shit's like sad.
yeah. Um, and then yeah, she goes back to and she sees like John's like stabilizing and then we get what I would consider it. There aren't really many. I was like quite struggling to find some Sigma
Yeah,
moments.
same honestly.
One that I did have here is where just for shits and giggles, Lynn, you know, Amanda's like getting emotional with like Sawyer. She's like, oh, he's okay, whatever, he's recovering, and then Lynn just goes, yeah, you know, he can't even hear you. He can't hear you. He doesn't even know you're there. It's like,
Yeah, just like
no.
like at this point she's figured it out. She's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
let's proper piss her off, you know.
yeah. She's getting pissed off. And John Kramer goes like, oh, you know, her emotion is her weakness, you know, like so that could also be a contender.
Yeah,
Her,
yeah,
basic,
because
yeah,
he's also like it's like, oh yeah, go away, Amanda. We don't need you right now. It's like
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
he's like, you know, what I mean, I know
Yes.
he's testing
Yeah.
Amanda, but he's really fucking pushing our buttons, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes, oh, her emotions, her weakness. We get another flashback as well where we see this is fucked up, where Amanda goes back to the bathroom to clean up, you know, after the first film, and Adam's still alive, and then she basically kills him. She kills him. Like I
Yeah,
don't think that would have happened anyway, you know, if you get, you know, if like, but we actually see like she suffocates him with like basically like a bag or cling wrap, you know, like fucked
yeah.
up. So yeah, that's how Adam bites it. Um, then I think we're brought to the big daddy of saw traps in my book, the rack trap.
God, what a fucked up trap, man.
I think for me personally, I think this is the worst trap in the whole franchise.
And I got to agree with you on that. The something important to know as well with this trap. Jeff is no longer alone. He now has
Yeah, he's got
the
companions
judge
with
with him, who's still covered in pig shit, but
him. And I think when I speak to people that have seen these films, and I go, oh, "What's your favorite trap? What's the worst trap?" Da, da, da. This is often the one that I find comes up. No, I never say straight. And with me, I don't like to volunteer my favorite first. I do generally go with the rack trap, but I always like to see what people say first. And I hear the rack trap a lot. Like you know,
it's yeah. The fact that also that in order to save him, you have to get the key, which is linked up to a shotgun.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
how
right.
easy that is. It's like a rigged fairground game again, but you never know.
Yeah, it's fucked up for sure. Um,
This is another moment where Jeff is just fucking infuriating, though. Honestly,
Yeah, definitely. Although to be fair with this scene, it is like
the
he's
guy who
face to
killed his son.
face with his son's killer, who we see in a flashback is full of remorse. You know, the guy's like, you know, he was like devastated. You see that he's devastated at, you know, killing this kid accidentally,
Yeah,
but he was
he
drink
drunk
driving.
driving or it was something along those lines.
He
But
was
it's
drunk
different,
driving.
like when it's an accident versus when it's like intentional, like planning. Like you often find with a lot of things. It's like, oh, you're the person who killed my ex whatever person who was important to me, and it's like someone who did it on purpose. This guy, like, I mean, yeah, he was boozing or whatever, but like, it was an accident. In fairness, like,
Yeah, yeah, true, true. But still, on the tape as well, I found it interesting that so because, like I mentioned before, that trivia that the pig vat is Tobin Bell's favorite track, but it's what in the tape Jigsaw says this is his
his
favorite trap.
personal favorite. Yeah,
Yeah, this is my personal favorite, the rack trap. Yeah, and Jeff is there. He's living his fantasy, but in a pretty fucking twisted way.
Yeah, quite
Um,
literally twisted. Am I right?
right.
It's like
I've got to
ripping his
shout out
eyelids.
the actor who plays the victim, Timothy Young.
Mm.
Timothy Young, right? The drunk driver. This actor's name is Mafo Kaio. I hope I'm saying that right. But he really sells this trap. Like fair
Yeah,
play to him.
his
I
his
think
like
he
his
does a good
face,
job
man.
of like. I mean, the trap is already really I mean, the way they do the effects. That's really like in a twisted way, very like well done, like excellently done. Really like, particularly when one of his legs like snaps. So you see the
Oh
bone
yeah, that's
fucking
disgusting. You
fly
see
out.
the
Oh,
bone like, oh
it's fucked up as shit, man. Because he and the really fucked up thing about this trap is it's like it's a quick death but slow death at the
it's
same
one
time.
by one, man.
Yeah, it's like really building up. Um, like I say, the actor really sells it, and just like he's like fucking, and his reaction to each of his limbs being like twisted. Um, all Jeff has to do is obviously like retrieve the key. There's a shotgun there, so he pulls it out and then lets the string go, and that shoots the judge in the
Yeah,
face.
I was like,
Wrong side of his face, by the way.
yeah, it's like this guy has somehow managed to turn a trap with one victim in it into a 200% mortality rate. Like, how are you that fucking stupid?
Yeah, Jeff
Like,
is fucking
he's
yeah.
like, oh, by the way, I got the key, and then the guy's next to him, and it blows his health, and it's
Yeah,
like, are
Jeff's
you
absolutely
serious,
useless,
man?
man. Like, yeah, the judge is shot in the face.
It's yeah, it's again another problem, which like where it's night. All of these traps are just how fucking long is Jeff gonna take to figure out what he's gonna do? Because like even by the time he's trying to help this guy, he's lost all of his limbs. What the fuck is he gonna do? And he's probably gonna die from that.
Yeah, man, it's like really sick fucking trap, man. Yeah, that's a good point actually as well. Like, even if he had pulled him out, like you know,
The thing is
quickly.
actually as well with the rack trap, when Jigsaw says, "Oh yes, this is my favorite trap." I don't know. He probably can't use it on very many occasions because of the nature of it. The fact that you need someone else to get someone out of it. So he's like, do you reckon he brings us out every single time someone needs to forgive someone, just to be like, this is a pretty fucked up trap, and I think you need to
Yeah,
maybe save
he's
him
got
from it.
two categories of traps. Okay, this goes in the teaching
Save
someone a lesson
yourself,
one. And this
save
goes in
someone
the
else.
self, yeah, like yeah, redemption one. I don't know. Yeah, oh, it's really fucked up trap. And like at the end, man, because like you've just seen all his limbs get fucking
Yeah, there's his
twisted,
head, man.
like snapped and twisted and shit. And then finally, like the neck, man, and the neck is the one that turns slower. Like so, it's like just the dread that guy's in there, and he's realizing it as it's happening, and it's like just fucking like almost like a clock, you know, just like dude, like the gears. The sound design is phenomenal. I gotta say, like
Yeah, the
everything, like
music
and
as
the
well,
music
man.
as well. It's like really building it up, like full, like you say, like going full on, man.
Like rave music almost.
Yeah, it's like really fucking sick trap, man. It's like really fucked up. Um,
Yeah, not forgetting that one in a hurry.
yeah, that's why I say for me, it's like the most memorable trap, and like the one I obviously we're gonna rank the traps at the end, but I'm sure there's gonna be a winner, maybe even for the whole like franchise. But this is like really fucking sick fucking trap, man. Um, anyway, we move on from that. We get back to John Kramer and Lynn and Amanda. This is where
Kramer
he
and
goes,
Co.
yeah, we find Amanda. You know, we don't need you. And he actually repeats it as well.
Hmm.
Um, and she's like getting jealous and shit. So she like basically has a breakdown. She breaks the rules. She pulls a gun on because she comes in to announce that Jeff's completed all the tests, which she doesn't know that he hasn't
He
yet.
hasn't actually. Yeah.
But Amanda, she pulls out the gun and she's like threatening Lynn, and she's like, "Yeah, she doesn't deserve to live. She's a bitch." Blah blah blah. And then John starts preaching to her. He's like, "Yeah, well, you're not all such an angel yourself." But like, we get like, "What did you do with Eric Matthews?" Like, "Oh, let me say about Eric Matthews." And then we get a flashback to Donnie Wahlberg, man. You're like,
Mhm.
"Oh shit, he's
Yeah,
back."
because like you forgot, like, oh, this film started with him. What happened there?
Right,
Like,
right, right. And because it's like he can get out, so he's getting out,
Yeah, he's
and
limping out. You know.
he catches up with Amanda, like in the sewers or dungeons, wherever it is,
Under
and
the house.
basically, like fucking fights her, man, on literally on one leg. It's a really bloody, like
Yeah,
violent,
he like dead
disgusting.
ass nearly kills her, man.
Yeah, man, he's like slamming her head into the wall like multiple times. You get shots of her like with it turning like in the light. It's really well filmed, man. It's just her
Hmm.
face covered in her own blood. Um,
Yeah, it's
oh,
like
there's a fucking really disgusting bit, man, where he's like he stood up, and
yeah, he
then like
nearly lands
his
the kill
ankle
as
gives
well.
away, and it's like the way they fucking. You're right, man. They must have like been like punching her into a jar of jam or something to like make that sound effect. The sound design is fucking so
Oh
fucked
yeah,
up. It's so good, man.
and then like yeah, and then like I forgot what he says, but then she has like a response to it and like kicks his like
Yeah.
fucked up foot. Oh
And he's
man,
taunting her as well later on. He's like, "Oh, you're not Jigsaw, bitch," like, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, that,
He
which
says it
prompts
a
her to
few
turn
too many
around.
times, I think. Like, yeah, but you know,
Yeah, it's like yeah, you're a fake one, like, and then she
yeah,
turns around and kills him,
yeah, man. Well,
off screen, that is, because
well,
we can't get an 18 in this family friendly franchise. Remember?
yeah. So yeah, it's like, oh, you left him for dead. She basically has a breakdown. She's like, yeah, fuck her. She does, and then like John's trying to warn her, but it's too late.
Yeah,
During all this time, simultaneously, Jeff finds a gun himself.
yeah.
Um,
It's like there's one. Yeah, it's like what was the note that came with it? Something like "it ends now" or something along those lines.
yeah, right, you're right, something
Yeah,
like that.
and also like that whole thing with Amanda, like it actually explains why all those traps you couldn't get out of, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, so this film hadn't just forgotten Jigsaw's like uh
yeah, because like,
code of conduct, the
yeah, because
rules of the
Amanda,
game.
like, basically, she's like, whatever. She's like, fuck. She shoots Lynn, which is very unfair, man. Lynn is like
Lynn did everything,
she's hard. I feel sorry for her, man, because like she did everything that she needed. She like actually really outdid herself, I think, and then she ends up like being shot and then head exploding, But
Yeah, like falls into
she got a raw
her
deal, man. She didn't
hashtag
really
Lynn
do
did
much
nothing
wrong
wrong.
in this. Like I felt bad for her, man.
Yeah, all it was, because Jigsaw didn't really have a reason to bring it other than
She
to
did. Well, she had two
make a bet.
reasons. One of them is revealed that she's Jeff's husband. Now,
Yeah.
this was confusing as
Yeah,
fuck
because
for
the guy
me. The
didn't look
first
like her husband.
Yeah, the first one or two times I saw this, I was like, "What?" Because at the beginning of the film, you see it's a totally different bloke, and he asks for a divorce. And they never really properly explained this, but you kind of put it together that like she remarried after. So she was married to Jeff, which seems pretty unbelievable, um, because she's way out of his league. First of all, and second, they don't have any chemistry, and like it just
Yeah,
doesn't.
it might be again
I
problem
know
with
it
the
doesn't.
actor sector.
It's not sold to me, to be honest. Um, and it would be more. It would work a lot better for me if she was like. But they have to do it because of the whole ring thing, and it's to give you this red herring. But they could have explained that a little bit better. But even so, like the timeline is basically that Jeff and Lynn were married. They had two kids. They lost the son. That probably led to them splitting up. She's neglecting her daughter or their daughter, who we saw at the beginning of the film. She's in the meantime like moved on from Jeff and got remarried, but that's not working out either. And then here she is. So she's being punished for like neglecting her daughter and whatever. And also,
She's also a workaholic. Oh yeah, that was it. It's like,
taking
oh,
antidepressants and shit, and
your
like
problem is like, oh, you keep working with the. No, that was the thing for Carrie. It was like
Amanda.
you
Oh
keep
yeah,
looking
Curry,
at the
yeah.
dead, right?
It's like there was another reason, but it's just like it's a little bit shaky, man. And especially it's like Lynn does everything that's asked of her, so she does deserve to walk free. But then it's showing how
To be fair,
flawed Amanda
Jigsaw
is.
wanted her to walk free, so
Right. So anyway, Amanda shoots Lynn, and then at the same moment, Jeff bursts in and shoots Amanda in the neck. And then as Amanda's dying on the floor, John Kramer like fucking reveals everything. He's
Yeah,
like,
it's like, I'm your
fucking, yeah, you
father.
made a bunch of unwinnable games, and then we get a flashback quickly to or montage of like the fucking
Fuck
classroom trap.
traps.
Yeah, the angel trap. Adam in the bathtub. He couldn't escape his one because she fucked up. Um, and then of course she shoots Lynn as well. And yeah, so and then Amanda just dies there and then on the floor, which is
Yeah, it's convenient she wasn't shot in like the head, so she didn't
yeah,
like had a little bit of time. So Jigsaw was like, "All right, it's not a
right,
non-fatal, not quite fatal immediately. So let me explain the rest of this to you."
right.
He planned it all out.
And then Jeff gets his moment as well, like his final tests. He has a chance to like forgive John Kramer. So he tries to shoot him initially, but then the gun's empty. He only had one bullet in the chamber.
Yeah, the thing is with the whole forgiving John Kramer thing. In this case with Jeff, John Kramer didn't really do anything to him anyway. If anything, he gave him, the catharsis of seeing
Yeah,
all the people he hated killed. Really,
right.
he did put so much work into, giving Jeff
Yeah,
what he wanted, and then just like, well, fuck you. You made me lose this bit on my cheek because I couldn't think enough to put my shirt there or something. But then,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This is very like, but yeah. I have mixed feelings on this. I think the main problem for me is the Jeff, the character, and the actor is just
yeah, that's it really.
not significant, not good enough to really justify what his importance in this film, and even the lesson he's supposed to learn. When you step back for a minute, it's like, well, this guy's just like struggling to move on from his
Yeah, it's like
son's death. That's not really like something. Like, yeah,
it's
you
like
kind of
he's like
giving him a chance to bring
murdered
justice
people.
to all the people that like fuck that up as well. But this guy, and at the end of the day as well, Jeff doesn't go through any physical ordeals except for like, yeah, a little cut on his cheek. But I think relative to the other Saw
Yeah.
victims, that's okay. He got off very lightly, and he doesn't. Nothing happens. Like, at the end of this film, he's alive and well. He's the healthiest, most well, of anyone of anyone that ends a Saw film, pretty
Well,
much.
apart from maybe, actually, no, Lynn got shot. But the thing is
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Anyway,
just
so
like,
like,
yeah, go
sorry,
on.
go on. Oh, well, I
No,
was
no,
going
no,
to
go
say
on, go on.
he's like, yeah, Jeff, can you forgive me? And it's like, well, yeah, it's like that's why does Jeff hate Jigsaw so much? He's just met him for the first time. It's like, oh yeah, you can't kill me or whatever. It's like I don't buy the motivation for Jeff to kill John Kramer. And then again, it's like you're supposedly his wife is there, like just dying in the corner, and he doesn't give a shit. He's barely looked at her in the whole scene. It's like surely if that was real, like he's gonna go over to try to help her. He doesn't give a fuck about
Yeah.
Amanda or John. He's never doesn't know them from Adam. So
Yeah, it's like John's not running anywhere, is he?
right, yeah, exactly,
He's probably thinking, oh,
exactly,
he's got fucking 2 seconds left, might as well kill him.
right. And anyway, so thingy Jeff goes, yeah, I forgive you. And because he's looking over at some tools like he could kill Kramer with, and he's like, "Yeah, you could kill me if you want, but you shouldn't." And
Yeah,
then
because your daughter needs you now more than ever. Hint,
right,
hint.
right, 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 right,
Wink,
right,
wink,
right.
nudge,
Yep,
nudge.
yep. Good rewatch value there for a moment. And in quite poetic fashion, John Kramer is killed with a circular saw. So
Yeah, I quite like that. But also the fact, the one thing I have to give this guy credit for, when he said, I forgive you, actually, it faked me out from that. I actually thought he did.
right,
And then he pulls out the sword, and his wife's like, "Oh no!" But his
yeah,
wife at no point, I know she's like half dead by this point, isn't like, "By the way, don't kill him, otherwise I'm gonna explode."
yeah.
Like,
She tries to, yeah. She's got the
yeah,
gun.
she
I
you
think that's
do see she
very
tries to, but
very convenient though. Like if I'm being critical here, there's no way. Like John Kramer, he's like the master of like planning ahead and stuff and considering every option. But no way does he like get it this convenient where like Amanda is there, like she gets shot, but like takes a few minutes to die. Lynn gets shot to the point where she can't like she's knackered enough to the point
yeah,
where she
can't
can't like
say.
explain to Jeff like what's going on. That's very like you're stretching it there. You're stretching it thin there. But anyway, yeah. So he dies by the. I hate the fact that Jeff is the one that kills. I mean,
Yeah,
John Kramer's
exactly.
gonna die anyway, but like he does not deserve the title of like the guy who killed John Crane. That is not fucking fair, man.
Yeah, this guy looks a like a budget Carl Urban to me, like just a little bit. I don't know if you noticed. Um,
Like a
but
budget
anyway,
who?
Carl Urban, well, he's in Lord of the Rings in a way you haven't seen The Boys, so anyway, yeah, he's really weak throughout this film. That's the problem. I think he is.
He's a pussy, yeah. Like from beginning to end, he's just like,
I mean, this entire film actually, like it's like, well, not this entire film, but the whole plot of him essentially like boils down to that like Jigsaw parody tweet where it's like, "Hello, Jeff, you've been a real bummer ever since your kids died. Like,
yeah,
uh, you've been a real bummer to be around." But yeah, it's just like the whole like train he goes through, like just watching all these people dying and deciding in the last 10 seconds to maybe try and save them. It's just like it's painful to
yeah,
watch him. But I guess that's maybe what Jigsaw was just thinking. He's like, this guy's gonna be he's a cunt, so we'll see if he actually decides to grow by the end of it, which he obviously doesn't.
yeah. Exactly. This is the whole point. He never learns his lesson. So it's like, and I know John Crane was going to die probably in a few minutes anyway. Which is again, it's like, why? What is the motivation for Jeff to kill him there and then, rather than help his wife out? This is just like
Mm.
this is the kind of thing where I'm like, and to be fair as well with this film, this had so many alternative endings. There's a director's cut which I haven't seen, which has a different ending. I probably will get around to watching
Yeah,
that at some point. But there's multiple different endings, and they settled on this one in the end. Those couple of things just like irritate me a little bit, but obviously, whatever. Like you're already like taken in by the fucking horrific traps and the plot twists and stuff, so you don't really. This is after like multiple viewings where you can like start getting critical and so
yeah. The thing
I've got
is
to be,
that I quite liked
be
that I
aware.
found kind of funny is in his like he plans, oh yeah, if this guy slits my neck, then I'm gonna whip out the last tape to play. Was it
um,
yeah? And his last words was game over, I think, or he said something else.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. Yeah, probably. Um, he reveals obviously in this final tape that only I know where your daughter is.
Yeah,
Again,
what the fuck did his daughter do to deserve
yeah,
this, man?
man,
Like,
poor girl. She's gonna like suffocate to death. She's
like
his sweet innocent daughter. She's like the biggest. Her and Lynn are the
it's the
biggest
biggest,
bitches in this whole film, and they were like the only ones that are like
tonight's biggest
they didn't
losers.
deserve it. I
It's
don't
like
know.
with the others,
So
the
unfair.
judge, the guy who killed his son, which is also a bit dodgy because it wasn't
They've
intentional.
all done some like okay, yeah. John
Even the
Grier's a
woman
bit
who
extreme
drove
in
off,
how he exercises their punishments, but they're all there for a reason.
the daughter's
Lynn
just like,
and especially the daughter. No, come on, man.
no. But to be fair, with Lynn, Jigsaw wants her to escape because he's in
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
with the Mandarin and all. But anyway,
But anyway,
yeah, it's like,
the
and then
final
this guy
scene.
is conveniently timed as well with when Jigsaw dies. He's and then because if he shot him immediately, I assume the bomb would have gone off, so he wouldn't have been able to hear the whole tape. But anyway,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's basically we get a montage of all three films actually so far, and so that gives you the impression that
yeah,
they were prepared to close this franchise.
I mean they could
Um,
have, but then they were like, we need
Money.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we see basically Lynn. The final frame of the film is Lynn dying, like her fucking like just her fucking neck, whatever's
yeah.
left from
What's left of her?
bomb
Yeah.
collar going off. Yeah, man. So
And
that's
that's
it,
it.
isn't it?
Thank you, Saw 3, for scarring me for life.
Yeah. This is like really fucked up. So now what we're
Most
gonna
fucked
do?
up so far.
We're gonna rank four elements from this film up against the previous two that we have. So let me get the current rankings up. So what we have is so we're going to rank the traps. Okay. At the moment, we have number one, the wax trap from Saw, and number two, the Venus flytrap from Saw 2.
As in the worst traps that you would not
Yeah,
want
the
to be
one
in.
you'd least want to be in.
We both know the answer is for this one, and we know where it's going.
Yeah. Well, let's just go through the traps we had in this film. So we
Yeah,
have the well,
nice.
technically Eric Matthews wakes up in his ankle trap, so I
Yeah,
guess we
the
can count.
ankle trap, saw trap too.
We have the classroom trap. We
Yeah,
have the let me see,
angel
the
trap,
angel trap. We have the freezer room trap. We have the pig vat. We have
the rack,
the rack trap, and I guess we can count Lynn's
the
bomb as
oxygen
well.
deprivation, the crate trap which he's stuck in at the start.
Yeah, and the bomb collar. I
Hmm.
think the rack trap is the clear winner here, but
Yeah,
I'm
easy.
curious to see where you would.
Honorable shout out to the classroom trap though.
Yeah, I want to know where you would put the these three. Okay, so I mean, let me
Angel
get
trap and
the main
classroom
ones out.
trap.
Okay, so the freezer room, the classroom, the pig vat, those three. Okay, so we could put the rack trap number one, but where would you rank those other three in
Oh,
terms of like which one you'd least want to be in? Okay.
angel trap number one, least one I want to be in. Then probably a toss up between the last two. I probably sooner. It depends. Well, on the last two because you're relying on someone else to get out. Assuming that they will get you out, the pig trap would be the least worst probably. But then and then in the middle would go the pig vat because sorry, the middle would go the ice trap. Because that's like imagine I can only imagine like how painful that'd be just being held there like and then the after effects, of your body
Mhm.
being frozen for a prolonged period of time.
This is my thing. I'm kind of. This is why the pig vat. Like for me, I'd put the pig vat like the easiest. Like one.
It's
I'd
easy
do
if
that
you
any day.
know you're going to get out, but having to rely on
Yeah, but
someone else.
I'm kind of assuming like say you can get out of each of these traps eventually. Like
Yeah, well, that's
that's
the
the
problem.
point. Which one do you least want to be in? Okay, like you don't like the
The
outcome is
angel
like
one, that's
kind of
easy.
irrelevant. Which one? And the pig vat. You get out of it, or you just have a shower and you're done. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're fine.
You might
You're
get
completely
some
fine.
infection from that though.
The angel trap, you'll have a few like I don't know even how you're meant to get out of that, but you're gonna burn your hand and you're gonna like some kind of like
Or you
damage to
might burn like, a
your
finger
chest.
or two if you're smart about it.
Well, then you have as well, yeah, the freezer room trap's fucked up. That would have like short term really bad
But
effects,
you
but
might
then
just
long term
die.
you'd be okay as well. I think. And yeah, the classroom trap's
Classroom trap, you're
fucked
just
up,
not going to
man.
be able to function ever again.
I think number one, yeah, the rack trap's the worst. Number two, I would put the classroom trap
Yeah.
for me. Then I would put the freezer room probably, and then the angel trap, and then the pig vat. Personally,
Mm.
what about you?
Probably do the same, but reverse. Put the angel trap above the ice one, the freezer one, because the angel trap's just fucked up. I
What
don't.
about the pig vat? You don't like that one, do you?
The pig vat would still probably pig vat would probably be above the freezer one,
Okay, fair enough.
depending
Well,
on
anyway, well, one
depending
thing
on
we
the
can
rack
agree on
trap
is that the
still
rack trap is
wins.
number one. And I think against the wax trap and the Venus fly trap, I think they look like walks in the park compared to this one, don't they?
Yeah.
So our new ranking is number one. Number one, the rack trap. Number two, Venus flytrap, and number two, the wax trap, and number three, the Venus flytrap. So there we go. Now we have we're going to rank the endings. So so far, so this is like taking into account the plot twist and like the
Yeah.
montage, etc. So number one, we have Saw. Number two, Saw two. Where do you want to put the ending for Saw three up against one and two? Obviously, we just to recap quickly as well. Saw one is like we find out it's Zep and fucking Jigsaw rising from the fucking middle of the floor and shit.
Yeah. Zep isn't actually Jigsaw. Yeah.
Yeah, and number two, Saw two ended with like
All of it
Eric
was actually
Matthews' son being in the
pre-recorded.
shit and all that. Yeah, and it's not live, right? So where
Yeah,
we
his
put this
son's in a
ending?
safe and secure place.
Yeah,
And is Jigsaw dead? Question mark. But he isn't.
yeah. So where we putting Saw three ending? Considering John Kramer dies.
It's pretty good, but I think Jeff just brings it down. That's the thing.
Yeah,
And also the fact that he just randomly drops it. Oh yeah, I also put your fucking daughter in this room with like no air in it. It's like
Yeah.
it's a bit, and also the fact that you have to suspend your belief that John Kramer would have planned for Amanda to be alive
Yeah.
for a little
Yeah.
bit, and
Yeah.
his wife, and him as well, and himself too, because if he'd have been killed immediately by like being stabbed in the head, then he wouldn't have been able to play his little thing and say bon voyage. Um, it doesn't pack as much of a punch, I'd say. It's not like, whereas like with the first one, Enter Electric, and the second one, like you're fucking mind blown there, like oh
Mm.
shit. This one doesn't do that so much. It's
I
still
think for
it's
traps and gore and just all those kind of horror tropes, I think this is the best one.
but
But
not for
yeah,
the
I think
ending.
for an ending, like I think this probably goes third.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree with you on that one.
All right.
But
So current rankings then for the ending: Saw number one, Saw number two, Saw two, number three, Saw three. Okay, Sigma quotes. Number
yeah,
one, we have the voicemail from Saw 2. And number two, we have
he describes
people
Adam as
calling.
angry yet apathetic, but mostly just pathetic.
Right, from Saw 1. So we need to nominate one from here and then rank it against those two. So,
This is a film lacking in Sigma quotes, I will say.
yeah.
Like in the
Um,
actual quote department, what did you
I
you
think
have?
we're going to go. I think probably the one where he goes, "We're fine, Amanda, we don't need you." That seemed like that's probably one. We've also got so that's from John Kramer himself. We also have Lynn has one where she goes, he can't even hear you. He doesn't even know you're there. And we have as well
Just Mark
Amanda.
Hoffman's
Amanda
voice
like
chatting.
challenging basically Lynn to kill her, but you can't.
I
I
think
think
I
it's
think we should
between
just
those three.
dedicate it exclusively to the 2 seconds of screen time Mark Hoffman gets.
What does he say?
Yeah,
Oh
he's just
right,
there, just
he's a
chilling.
dark Sigma.
Ah, nah.
No, what do you reckon then out of those ones?
I think probably the entire bit where Amanda's being like, "Oh, you could kill me right now, and then you do this and this, and then you get out. Oh, gets you too much of a pussy. Thanks, I'll have that axe back." I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I'm
pretty,
having that. Yeah, Sigma female. Yeah, why not?
pretty
Um,
like. There's literally a pretty ballsy move, like just to do that.
Yeah, just flexing in it. And where are we going to rank that against the voicemail and the pathetic?
Oh, that's so tough. Probably have to put it above, like probably in the middle, because like the calling Adam pathetic is quite funny, but it's not like
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the voicemail's like fucking Sigma as fuck, man.
yeah,
But
it's dark
like,
as fuck, man.
yeah, yeah, I think this is second. It's not like a strong second either. Like they're both like meh, you know. There are no Ben Affleck Sigma moments, you
Yeah,
know.
this isn't like, we're very far from I bought the bank and that sort of
Yeah.
shit.
Amanda, I'm gonna put Amanda. Amanda's.
This is the third time a Sigma quote's been from someone called Amanda.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Think about
Amanda's a
it.
bit of a Sigma female name, isn't it? Fair play.
Well,
Better
I'm
name
not sure. I
I've
can't
got.
really remember
I
if two of
think
them are
I've
from
got her
Amanda.
name worked out now.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then I think that just leaves us to rank the film itself. So number one we have Saw, and number two Saw two. Where are we going to rank Saw three, Henry?
I'm willing to put this either second or first. Because this is pretty good.
Yeah, if I think the only really bad thing about this film
Is
is I
Jeff.
think Jeff like kind of lags the film, and I think the ending's not so good. But the traps themselves, if I'm going to watch a Saw film purely for that, I think this is going to be probably the
Mm.
best one for that. Like out of these three for sure, like really fucking iconic and disturbing traps, memorable, has rewatch value. The ending maybe I think would for me just bring it just below
Saw
Saw,
one.
the
Yeah,
first
because
one.
Saw, I think if you think about it, I wouldn't say it's like oh, it's a flawless 10 out of 10 film, but there's nothing really wrong with it. You can say like it's just like upon rewatching it, it's so good. I don't know
Mm.
how to put it. And
I
like the
think
end,
Saw might even be a film that improves with each watch.
yeah, it's like the ending is so good.
Yeah.
Like this proper, it's like fucking scary film as well. Like with the bit with Zepp in the closet. Um, and it's got, apart from maybe occasional use of the word bastard
Yeah,
from
Gordon.
Dr.
Yeah.
Gordon, and also the fact that he's literally from Liar Liar. it's yeah, Adam's quite, has a surprisingly somewhat funny turn to it. And may I remind you of the fucking camera flash scene as well. Like,
Yeah.
loads of
True.
good shit in that film. And I think that puts it above Saw
I think
3.
that goes. What about Saw 2? Yeah, I think this goes above Saw 2, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is by default. Saw 2's good, but like
These are
sort of
all
the
like
bits.
pretty close together, you know. Not none of them are like extremely the best. None of them are like extremely shit.
Yeah,
You
this
know,
is
they're all
this is
like
no like Batman
solid. You
Forever
know.
situation.
So I think we can say number one Saw, number two Saw 3, and number three Saw 2.
Yeah, that's really weird to say. Yeah.
Yeah, no. But there you go.
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you'll never
Uh,
guess what we're reviewing next.
yeah, I think we're done then. So
Yeah.
obviously Saw 4 next weekend. In
Hmm.
the meantime, you know, if you're enjoying these episodes, you know, share it with your mates, share it with other torture porn fans, and you know, get the word out there. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.